Good morning, everyone. I'm Ellen March, and this is So What? Thanks for joining me this morning. I hope you are all healthy and happy and enjoying your Tuesday morning so far. I have a couple of really great projects to go over with you today. There's a little something for everyone. We're going to talk about a handwork project, and we're also going to talk about some machine embroidery. So it's Christmas in July still. What better time to start our Christmas projects than in the middle of summer, right? I've always thought that that was kind of silly, but at the same time, you're so prepared when it comes to the holidays. You can get a head start on making gifts. You can get a head start on making some new decor. It's just a great time to start thinking about those things, especially if you like to do handmade gifts. You want to do something maybe assembly line style, gather up your fabrics. And I don't know about you, but some of our stores are getting some more fabrics in, getting some more materials in. There are certain things that are still pretty hard to find, especially if you're not going out and doing shopping like that. I myself am only going grocery shopping these days, very sporadically. I spread my shopping trips way out still. So shopping online for my fabrics, shopping online for my notions, doing as much online shopping as I can just to avoid that, risky contact. So let me know how you guys are faring as far as being able to find your supplies. And obviously just know that sulky.com is fully stocked. We're ready for your orders. We are ready to fulfill them. And so I want to give you some great ideas. So while you're shopping around at sulky.com, you know what to look for when you're working on certain projects. So please chime in and comment today. Let me know what you are working on, what you're sewing, questions that you might have while you're working along your projects so that we can discuss them today. And if you are commenting on the post, sharing today's post, liking, loving, giving me some kind of comments, you will be automatically eligible to receive today's gift. And today's gift is a really great mini thread palette, we're calling it. It's 6 spools of sulky thread, and it comes with an exclusive cross-stitch pattern. And I'm going to be going over that in a little bit. It's called the Silver Bells Handwork Mini Palette. And I linked to it in the description of today's post. That is the giveaway today. So it's a value of $19.99, and that is today's giveaway. So make sure you're engaging with the post. And I always pick a winner in about 24 hours, sometimes a little bit longer. I like to give everybody a chance to watch today's video and comment and share. I also wanted to let you know I got a little bit of feedback over the last couple of weeks that people's questions were not being answered on the live feed. So I'm just going to let you know that as the questions are coming in, I try to keep up with them as much as possible. I have a couple of breaks here and there during the streaming feed where I try to review all the questions that have come in. But I do go through every single comment and question after the live event, and I do answer them. If I didn't get to them live here, I do answer them in a timely manner. If you are not getting an answer to your question, please email us at info@sulky.com. We always try our best to answer your questions to the best of our abilities, and we want to make sure you're having the greatest experience with Sulky products. So that is how you can get in touch with us. And I apologize if I don't get to your question on the live feed. It is a lot to go through, so I will do my very, very best to answer and comment to you as always. So thank you for already commenting. It's great to see where you're all from and what you're all up to. Never have enough colors of thread. Me either. All right, so let's dive in. I'm going to talk about our first project today. I just posted this on the blog yesterday. It's a freestanding lace Christmas village. And I want to be very upfront and let you know that the designs used for this post are not sulky designs. Okay, they are designs from OESD. They're great high quality designs. And apparently some of you have told me that they come out with a Christmas village every year. So there are new little buildings and little things that you can add to your collection. I wasn't aware that they came out with one every year, so that's pretty neat. But I worked with Jennifer Tryon about maybe a year ago, 6 months ago, to give her tons and tons and tons of thread to create a really impressive Christmas village display. And I linked to the blog post in the description of today's post so you can get all the information for how she did it, the products that she used, the links to the designs. They're all in the post. So you need to go to the link in today's description to get all of that information. But it's so impressive that I wanted to go over it with you today, first and foremost. And it just so happens we are having a great sale right now on Sulky Solvy, okay? All the Solvy products. So the original Solvy, Ultra Solvy, Super Solvy, Sticky Fabra Solvy, one of my favorites. Fabra Solvy that's not sticky. You can get bolts, you can get rolls, you can get sheets, and it's 30% off starting today. So the reason I wanted to start off today's show by talking about this Christmas village is that you need a ton of that Fabra Solvy. Not sticky Fabra Solvy, the regular Fabra Solvy. You need a ton of it when you're doing this Christmas village. There are lots and lots of designs, lots of hoopings. That's why I thought it would be a great thing to talk about for Christmas in July, because if you start now, you can break up the design files into manageable chunks and get your way to Christmas or the holidays decorating season and have them all to put together. So this way, if you start out now, you can kind of, do it piece by piece, and it's a lot less overwhelming because this is a big commitment. It's a big project. It is definitely something to aspire to. And you know what? Your machine does most of the work for you. That's why I love machine embroidery. So these little villages are all freestanding lace, and you put them together piece by piece, like I said. So you'll be creating like the front of the building, then the sides, then the back, and the roof pieces, and then you follow the directions to put them all together. And I'm going to kind of go over the process, just a big generalized overview, but please go to the blog post and get all of the information there. Also, Jennifer Tryon did a video, and I linked to the video in the post so you can see her process. She's so, so great with her instruction, and you guys will really, really love it. So here is what the Christmas village looks like all lit up, okay? Isn't that beautiful? So there's a little quilt shop, there's a bakery, there's a fire station, there's all kinds of different things. And you can grab those little LED like wire string lights, if you know what I'm talking about. Give me a thumbs up. They have their own little battery packs. And in the comments of that blog post, I linked to some lights if you're if you want to do the same thing. But the reason I like those lights for this is because they have their little individual battery pack, which you can kind of hide behind each house, and then you don't have these strings and cords hanging out everywhere. You can obviously also hide those cords by putting your little batting, your snow drifts around your little village as well. So there are a lot of options, but I really love those little battery pack LED lights for this. So that is what it looks like in the dark. Here is the little bakery, so you can see that close up, and all the little intricate pieces. I mean, this looks really complicated, and honestly, it's all made out of thread. So Jennifer used 40 weight sulky rayon thread, all in white. Now, you don't have to do this all in white. You can definitely make your bakery more realistic and choose different thread colors, but she wanted an all white Christmas village. And I will tell you, she ended up getting the big super cones of rayon thread because she was going through those snap spools like nobody's business. So if you are going to do one of these Christmas villages, keep in mind, not only do you need to get the cones of rayon, but you also need to get probably a bolt of the Solvy. So again, that is on sale starting today. You can grab one of those bolts for 30% off. So a great, great deal, great savings. All right, so here is what it looks like when it's not lit up. Still so stunning and makes such an impact. And I love the little decal that she put on the wall. And I'm sorry, I don't know where she got it, but I'm sure we can message her and find out if you're looking for that. And then she just added some little cute trees and things like that. I just love the way it looks even in the daytime. So it's super, super pretty, all made out of thread. So you wash away all that Solvy and you're left with these stiff pieces that you put together. All right. So I'm going to kind of do a little overview for those of you who are not familiar with the process of freestanding lace, or you need a little bit of a refresher and you want to see how this is done with Solvy as opposed to a different type of Solvy that maybe you've used. I am getting some questions. Someone asked, is there a quilt shop in this Christmas village? And there is. It's so cute. The design collection that she used, again, it's from OESD. It is not from Sulky, so you'll have to go to them. But the design collection she used is the 2019 Christmas Village, and I linked to that in the blog post, so you'll want to go there. The blog post is linked in the description of today's post. So you'll find your quilt shop. You could find the whole collection. You can also get them piece by piece if you'd rather pick and choose the little buildings for your village. So apparently there is a 2020, I guess, coming soon. I don't know. Again, I am not affiliated with them. This is more about how to use Solvy when creating freestanding lace. So if you do have questions about the design, please contact them directly. Okay, so the Solvy. You are going to hoop only the Solvy. Now, this collection does have certain portions that have a little bit of fabric underlay, and it would be in places such as where the little text is for, bakery or quilt shop. There's a little bit of fabric underneath those pieces, so you're actually kind of creating a freestanding applique in that sense because there's fabric involved, but it's so little. I'll show you the little pieces. But here is the Solvy in the hoop at the machine. You can see that's it. And you've threaded the machine with the white rayon in the needle and the bobbin, and you're ready to start. Here is, it's kind of hard to see. I took screenshots from the video, so you'll really want to watch the video how-to that's in our blog post. But here is that little piece of fabric. And again, she's doing this all in white. So that little fabric piece is just a little piece of white fabric. And you can see how there's a little tacking stitch for step 1. You can remove the hoop from the machine and check on your work. You can remove the hoop from the machine and trim away the excess fabric beyond that stitching line. And then as you move forward with the design, your little raw edges will be covered by more stitching. And then after your design is sewn out on that Solvy, you remove it from the hoop and you basically dip it in water and move it around with your hands. Now you want to leave a little bit of the Solvy behind in those stitches. You want to make sure that it is rinsed away from any open areas, but if you leave a little behind, that stiffens up your piece of lace. So you want to add that bit of stability so that your building will stand up nice and tall. If you rinse all of it away, then it'll be a little bit limp, okay? But you still have 4 sides of a building and things like that, so it will still stand up. If you have removed too much of the Solvy, keep that water that you rinsed it out in a spray bottle. And you can spray your individual pieces after they've dried until you get until they get a little bit stiffer. So don't throw that stuff away. Keep it in a spray bottle. It's good for other things too, like stabilizing a quilt top. If you're doing some free motion work, you can use it for extra stabilization on the top of your fabric. And then when you're done sewing, of course, it will wash away. But in this case, keep that and put it in a spray bottle so you can always sort of stiffen up those pieces when you're putting them together. All right, so here's one of the pieces, right? And you want to make sure you're laying it flat to dry over the top of a towel, okay? You don't obviously want to drape it over anything because then it's going to dry in that shape. If you get little curls or curves that you don't want, you can simply wet it a little bit and then flatten it over the towel again. So it's very, very forgiving. And then, of course, you have your pretty little village. And you can tell, I mean, it's all thread. So a lot of stitches, a lot of time goes into these stitch outs. So, why not start now and have a pretty Christmas village by the time you get to your holiday decorating. So that is project number 1. I'm going to go through the comments and see if we have any questions regarding that. Christina is working on some freestanding lace applique tea light pumpkins. That is so cute. What a great idea. I know it's hard to think about Christmas when we haven't even talked about Halloween yet. So never fear, I will be talking about Halloween in the next couple of weeks, and I have a lot of good things in store for that holiday as well. I love Halloween. So stock up on your orange thread, everybody. Oh, along with the Solvy on sale, you can see as well that our Poly Deco and Poly Light thread is also on sale. So if you do want to go ahead and stock up on your Halloween colors, grab up some Poly Deco, grab up some Poly Light for bobbin thread or for quilting, and you're all set. All right, let me see if we've got some more questions. I want to make sure that I am addressing everyone. Lots of hellos. Thank you so much, everybody. Gwen loves the village. Okay. And we've linked to the blog post for the Christmas Village right in the comments, but again, it is also in the description of the post. Sometimes you have to click see more so that you can see all the links that I have put on the post today. All right. Nice to see the Epic on your table. Yes, let me know what you guys sew on. I have a lot of different machines. Behind me is the Husqvarna Viking Designer Epic 2. I love that machine for machine embroidery. I also have a Baby Lock Triumph Serger. In front of me, I have a Baby Lock Imagine. I also have another Husqvarna Viking machine as well. What can I say? How many machines do you all have? Is 5 an acceptable number because I have 5 sewing machines. You just never know. I have a smaller one that I can take with me places. I have the big one that I do all of my embroidered projects on. And of course you need a couple different sergers, am I right? Okay, sorry, I'm sifting through the comments to make sure that I am addressing the questions. So bear with me here. Okay, Patricia says she's been wanting to do some freestanding lace, but she's a bit intimidated to try it. So the great thing about it, like I was mentioning, is it's all thread. So with the exception, I know I showed you the little bit of applique pieces. For the most part, if you want to experiment with freestanding lace, you may have a couple of designs built into your embroidery machine already that are freestanding lace designs. Sometimes there's a little bookmark project you can try, or even just a little lace motif that you would put on a headband or a brooch or something like that. So you can definitely check that out, or just go and purchase a really inexpensive freestanding lace design and give it a try. I think that you will really enjoy it and find it actually very easy. That is the thing about machine embroidery, I find, is a lot of people think that it is for an advanced sewer. You have to be really skilled in order to do machine embroidery, and I actually think it's totally the opposite. You can be a beginner and do machine embroidery and not know a thing about traditional sewing and garment sewing and all these different techniques, because, like I said, the machine's doing most of the work for you. And if you consult reputable blogs like the Sulky blog, or get patterns and designs that are really great high quality designs, you'll find that those educators and those digitizers walk you through those steps so well. All you have to do is follow the steps on your machine. Your machine will stop and start for all the different steps and basically tell you what to do. So if you're intimidated, I highly suggest that you just give it a try, give it a shot. It might be your new favorite technique to try, and you'll see just how easy it really is. Okay, Janice is asking, what is the best way to wash away the Solvy? I find this is difficult on any project. So for me, if I'm doing freestanding lace and I want the lace to have that stability, for example, for this Christmas Village project, I dunk it in water like the image shows. Let me try to find the right one for you here. Nope, wrong one. Okay, I will dunk it in a little bowl of water, depending on how big the piece is. Now, if I am working with like a sticky Solvy or stick and stitch, something that I have hand embroidered, I remove it under running water. Okay, if you have a kitchen sprayer, that works really, really good for dissolving the Solvy. So it kind of depends on the project that I'm doing. For freestanding lace, you don't want to just put it in the bowl and kind of walk away. You want to put it in there and kind of agitate it a little bit with your hands and make sure that the Solvy, particles are dissipating into the water. So you don't want to just set it and forget it. You want to stick with it and make sure that it's coming out. In other cases, for example, if I'm using a Solvy stabilizer in a quilt or something that is machine washable, I oftentimes will leave my Solvy in place until my project is totally complete, and I will throw it in the washing machine. The washing machine agitates it, rinses it a bunch of times, and when it comes out, everything is gone. Now, I would not do that with a lace project because that's really delicate. And like I said, you want to stick with it and make sure that you get the right amount of Solvy left over in your thread to shape the lace. So I hope that answers your questions. Okay. Love to do freestanding lace. That's great. Could this be done in metallic thread in gold? That is a great question. Oh, that would be so beautiful. So metallic thread has a different texture to it, obviously, than rayon or polydeco. And I feel like there are just too many stitches in this that you would probably have some issues with the final product. But please, if you're out there and you have tried this, let me know. Instead of doing the whole village in gold, I would pick certain elements to do in metallic, and I would pair that with maybe an invisible thread in the bobbin as opposed to a metallic thread in the bobbin. Like, for example, if you're doing the bakery, maybe just do the bakery text in the metallic and the rest of the part of the building in rayon. But you know what? If you want to try it, let me know if it works out. I would do just a small piece. Maybe if there's a little small door or something like that, I would really, really test it and slow your machine way down when you are using the metallic thread. All right. Oh, Norma says they're always adding shops, so that's really fun. You can add to your collection of your village, and that's a great idea. What temperature should the water be when you're washing away your Solvy? So I do really just room temperature water, not super cold, and I don't use hot water. So I guess my answer is kind of warm-ish water for removing the Solvy. If you're using super cold water, I have noticed that it takes a little while longer for it to wash away, but I don't know if that is technically true because I just started going with this sort of room temp warmer water. If used as a spray, can you iron? So I would let it dry first and then iron it a little bit. And I always press things using a press cloth from the wrong side. Even these Christmas Village pieces, the pieces that have fabric, after you have dried it flat, you want to turn it over, put a press cloth, and give it a little iron. I would not use steam at all because you still have a little bit of that Solvy in there and you want it to stay, but a little bit of press to make sure that everything is nice and flat for when you go and construct the pieces. So, oh, this is a great tip. Nancy says, use 2 grease spatter shields when drawing small pieces of lace. Sandwich the pieces between them to keep them drying flat. That is a great little tip. Oh, this is another great tip from Doreen. At a Sulky Teacher Certification, Ellen Ostin, there's a couple of Ellens, said to keep the spray bottle in the refrigerator. That is a great tip for making sure that it lasts as long as you want it to. So keeping that in the fridge and then using it for other projects is a great way to extend the life of your stabilizer and have a lot less waste. Okay, so there are so many comments, and again, I will get to them after the live feed. I will go through and comment to your questions. So if I don't address them right away, just know you will get an answer. So I want to move forward with our next project, and this is a handwork project. And what I love about this is it is cross stitch, which is one of my new loves, I guess you could say. I I grew up with my mom doing a lot of cross stitch, and that really ignited my love and passion for sewing because I always wanted to work on something that she was doing. So I really have an affinity for cross stitch, and I love that it is really coming back as a trend, and I'm seeing a lot more of it. So we have this brand new project. It is called the Christmas Countdown Calendar. And it's really unique how it is constructed. It's kind of a new modern take on a advent calendar of sorts. It takes you from December 1 to December 25th, so you can count down the days. And there's a little magnetic marker, that little snowflake button looking thing that you can move across the calendar as the days go on. So the pattern comes with our Silver Bells mini palette, which is these 6 spools of thread. So I talk about this thread a lot. This is our 12 weight cotton petites, and this is what we recommend for cross stitch, handwork, hand embroidery. It is so much easier to use than those skeins of floss, which get really tangled up when you're using them. Inevitably, as you're separating strands, you get a big knot and you just have to cut it off and throw it away. And so you have that waste. Then there is the matter of storing those skeins. Am I right? So these come on the Sulky Snap Spool, which you just gently snap it away from the spool, and your thread end is stored right there. So the storage of this thread is really, I mean, you can't beat it. Then you just snap it closed and it is tightly secured right there for you. The other reason I like using this for handwork is because I can also use it in my machine. So it can do double duty for me. 1 strand of this equals 2 strands of traditional embroidery floss. So if you're working with a pattern that calls for 2 strands, you only need 1 strand of this baby. So with the Silver Bells mini palette, which is our giveaway today, if you like, love, comment, share, otherwise engage with the post today, you are eligible to win today's little giftie, which is the Silver Bells mini palette that comes with your Christmas Countdown Calendar pattern. So I want to go over a little bit about using metallic threads with the 12 weight. So this is a really popular technique with cross stitchers, especially because they love that little sparkle that goes on their project. So instead of using, well, you can use it 2 different ways. Obviously, you can just use a couple strands of hollow shimmer and embroider or cross stitch your design. Or you can pair 1 strand of the cotton petites with 1 strand of the hollow shimmer, put them on your machine needle, your hand needle, and when you're sewing, you get little flecks of that hollow shimmer in your pattern. And it's just such a pretty effect. So with this 6-pack of threads, you get a spool of that hollow shimmer, and you can pair it with any one of those colors, or like I said, use it alone in certain elements of the design. So here you can see the calendar straight on, and you can see that it is displayed in this nice wooden embroidery hoop. Now at Sulky, we offer 3 sizes of really high quality German wooden embroidery hoops. If you are used to working with those brittle hoops that are available at the craft store, you definitely want to transition into using one of these high quality wooden embroidery hoops. It lasts a long time, I mean forever, I will venture to say, and it doesn't have that brittle kind of feel to it where you think you might get a splinter at any moment when you're doing your handwork. And it makes a really nice display for the calendar. So you'll want to grab one of those up. the designer of this project used the 10-inch hoop. We also have a 6-inch and an 8-inch. So you might want to just grab all three if you do a lot of handwork, especially if you want to display your work in the wooden embroidery hoop. You'll need another one to work on other projects. So I'm going to show you a little bit of the close-up. Here you can see that hollow shimmer is paired with one strand of the 12-weight cotton petite, and it creates this really pretty rainbowy holographic effect on those numbers. So here we have just the hollow shimmer used alone for that little snowflake. It's not as pronounced of a stitch, but the metallic makes a big impact. So like I said, you can use it two different ways throughout this project, and it's just a really pretty effect. So I wanted to show you the back of the work. Look how nice and neat the back of this is. What you do to achieve that is at the beginning and ending of your stitch, you want to leave a little bit of a thread tail. Don't use a knot so that you don't have kind of bumpy things on the back of your work. You'll leave a little bit of a thread tail, and then when you turn your work over, before you get to the next element of the design, you weave that thread tail in through the back of the stitching. And the back of your work looks, I mean, obviously it's the back of the work. It's not going to look as pretty as the front, but look how nice and neat and tidy that is. I wanted to show that to you all. So the cool thing about how this calendar functions is that magnet that you move across the work. So you basically take your right and wrong side of your magnet, whatever that's called, the plus and the minus of your magnet, and you'll create basically like a little yo-yo or button cover for that magnet. And your each side goes on either side of your hooped work. So that is how it is moving across your calendar. Isn't that a great idea? I think that's so cute. And then of course, you will want to embellish that little piece with a little snowflake design. So very, very pretty design. I love that it looks modern yet vintage at the same time because of that cross stitch look. So if you love that design, you will get it included with that 6-pack, that Silver Bells palette that's brand new. So I think that you guys will really enjoy working on this project. And you know, it's a handwork project. It's going to take a little time. That's why I wanted to release it in July, so that you've got the rest of your summer and into your fall that you can work on it just as you're feeling up to it, as you're feeling the holiday spirit, and you're sure to finish it in time for the holidays. So that is our little handwork project. And I wanted to go through some cross-stitch basics. For those of you who maybe haven't done cross-stitch in a long while, or you want to start and you don't know where to begin, we have a great YouTube video series. It's called Intro to Cross-Stitch. And I wanted to show you a little snippet of it during today's video. So I'm going to play a little bit of it, and you can get the entire playlist on our YouTube channel, and you can watch all of the videos that guide you through different ways of working with cross stitch. And then when I come back from the video, I'm going to give you a little bit of a hack for stamped cross stitch. So the cross stitch that is used for this Silver Bells countdown calendar, you can do two different ways. You can do the traditional way of counted cross stitch with your Aida fabric and counting your fibers in order to line up your design, or you can use my cheater method. So I will go over my cheater method after I show you a little bit of our intro to cross stitch video here. And this video is about forming stitches. I feel like that might be the most important refresher for you, but there are also videos about reading a pattern, videos about working on a digital device when you're going through a cross-stitch pattern, videos on cross-stitch supplies that are traditional, conventional supplies and unconventional things that you can use to elevate your designs that maybe you haven't thought of. So there's a lot of great content in the video series, and I will go through just one with you right now.
Here is the back side of my cross-stitch piece. I am about to flip it over to the front. On the side here is the selvage area, and here are my stitches. I am working on the bottom right quadrant of this stitch. Right now I'm pinning down with my sewing clips the excess fabric around the main stitched piece so I can stitch in hand and have my fabric that I am not utilizing already rolled up and ready and out of the way. I am pinning all 4 sides down. While I do stitch in hand, I like to have my excess fabric rolled up, and I find that it is a lot easier for me to adjust my fabric as I go using the sewing clips versus a hoop or a Q-snap. Hoops and Q-snaps are invaluable, and I recommend them for various stitching projects. However, I am stitching in hand, and we're going to start with a modified pin stitch with the Sulky Blendables 12 weight cotton petite. And this is the colorway Sunset, and it's got a beautiful variegation and an orange and a yellow. So what I did was I came up the center, then I am going up the top right hand corner, then I'm going to be coming down in the lower left hand corner, and then back through the center. Each time I'm doing this, I'm doing a gentle tug to secure that thread in place. Now we're going to complete this stitch. As you can see, there's a tail end. I did a gentle little tug. We're going to finish this first stitch, and we're going to continue stitching, and I will go back and clip the end of that tail of that thread so I don't have any excess thread hanging. So there is the first stitch. Now I'm going to start the second stitch, and we're lining our stitches up all one way. So first stitch goes in the upper right. Now I'm going to come down and then over. Now this is a sewing in hand method. Over 2, down, up in the left, down in the right, up in the left, over 2, down in the right. Stitching in hand is really fun, and I've sped up this video so I'm not stitching as fast as it might appear on film, but I am crossing each X. I'm going over 2 strands of the flax fiber or linen. I'm going to complete this stitch, and in a moment you're going to see me drop my needle. I'm doing that to allow the thread to untangle. This just helps to eliminate my thread knotting up unnecessarily. It happens with all threads. Just every couple stitches you can let your needle down and dangle. Now I'm going to continue to stitch. As you can see, I am traveling from left to right with the 2 stitches. Oh, it's so much fun. I love cross stitch. I love stitching in hand.
So sorry I cut that short. I didn't mean to be so abrupt with ending the video, but I just wanted to give you a little overview. If you want to see that whole video, again, go to our YouTube channel and you can see the entire series and the end of that video. But why I wanted to show you that particular portion is because she does that little pin stitch to begin a new color or to begin a new part of the design. And that also eliminates the need to knot your thread at the beginning and end. And when you do that pin stitch, you're essentially kind of knotting or securing your fabric in that stitch. So then you can go and just trim the thread tail. So that is another really great way to begin and end your cross stitching. So I wanted to make sure and show you that. Now, Karen is asking, why not use the hoop instead of the clips? You certainly can use a hoop for this. The designer who helped us with those videos, Amanda May, she actually shows it both ways, stitching in hand by turning those edges like she did with the clips, and then also putting your work into a hoop. So there are just two different ways of doing it, and however it's more comfortable for you in your hand is what she recommends. So a lot of you have commented that you would like to see this design digitized for machine embroidery. So that is a great idea, and I think I should start working on that for you. You just save so much time doing a cross-stitch design on your machine, don't you? I love the feel of doing handwork every so often, though. It's just really a tactile thing, and you know, I like having the feel of all of the threads, and you can go with really thick thread. You can do 2 strands of the cotton petite when you're working by hand, whereas if you did that by machine, you'd run into some issues as far as, you know, creating those stitches if you were using 2 strands, because again, that would be like 4 strands of traditional embroidery floss, so very thick stuff. So I want to go over my cheater method for cross stitch. If you don't want to work with the Aida fabric, if you want to use, you know, a pretty linen that you already have, or if you want to do cross stitch on denim, which is a really cool look, the cheater way is to print out your pattern onto the Sulky Stick and Stitch. Now, I did mention our sale 30% off of Solvy's, so you can actually grab up some sticky Solvy and use it just as you would the stick and stitch. All right, so I hope that isn't confusing. I'm going to show you a bit of it. Now, the Solvy is just like the stick and stitch. It has this sticky back stabilizer on one side and paper on the other. You run it through your printer to transfer your design. You can put your printer on the lowest ink setting so that you're transferring just enough to see what you're working with. You can also print it in color, so you can color code your design so that when you're cross stitching, you know when to stop and start a new color. That is super helpful when, you know, you're just stitching along and completely forget that you're on a new spot. So the countdown Christmas calendar pattern, you will print that out on 4 sheets of the sticky Solvy, or if you have stick and stitch, you can use that as well. You can see the little image here, how you run it through your printer, peel it away, and then you will put it on the right side of your fabric and make your cross stitches through all layers. You can also add an additional piece on the back side of your fabric if you're working with something that's really lightweight, and that kind of sandwiches your fabric in between the stabilizer, and as you're sewing, you have a really stable surface. And if you have it on the back side, you really wouldn't need to use a hoop. What I like to do is, so for the Christmas calendar, you'll have 4 sheets of this. You'll place it on your fabric, matching up your 4 corner points. And before I match up those points, I trim away as much of the sticky Solvy as I can around the outer edge. And then when I'm hooping, I would move around my hoop if needed. Now, if you have that 10-inch hoop, you won't need to do that. You can just hoop it as you would, centering the design. And when you're finished, you'll need to unhoop, rinse away that sticky Solvy, dry everything flat, then you'll flip it over, put a press cloth, press everything gently and nicely, and then you'll rehoop to display it. So that is my cheater method if you want to do cross stitch, but I kind of call it mindless cross stitch, I guess, because you don't have to do any of the counting. You're just following your printed pattern on the stick and stitch. So you can do it the traditional way if you want. Your pattern will come as a digital file when you get your thread pack. So you can also bring up that pattern on your tablet and have it next to you and follow it that way if you're doing the counted cross stitch. And again, our Intro to Cross Stitch video series has a great tutorial for working digitally when you are doing cross stitch. So here is the sticky Solvy in action. And I printed just a little handwork design. Like I said, I trim away as much as I can around the design perimeter, just leave a little bit of margin, and then you just sew right through all layers, creating your stitches. Here is a finished design. Now this is sticky Solvy, and this is the stick and stitch. You can use them interchangeably. So since Solvy is on sale, grab up a pack of these sticky Solvy that you can run through your printer, and you can do your cheater cross stitch if you want. So hopefully I have not offended any of the cross stitch purists out there who really want to do the counted cross stitch, because absolutely get your Ada fabric and do your counting and you're on it. I like the mindless cross stitch. You know what? I will take all the help I can get when I'm working through projects, and especially when something is going to help me sew faster, sew better, sew more accurately. I'm going to take all the help I can get. So Donna says, use the Solvy when doing embroidery on clothing so that you can place it correctly. Yes, it works as a great placement aid. You can actually print out your machine embroidery design onto Solvy, place it on your hooped fabric, and then when you put your hoop onto the machine, you can double check your embroidery placement. And you can actually leave it in place and do your embroidery over it. It will give you even more stability, and then wash it away when you're all done. So no one will ever know. Tina is asking, do you use an inkjet printer or a laser? You can use both, and like I said, use the lowest ink setting. All right, if you have a lot of ink and it's too saturated, you don't want to have any smears and that type of thing, or have the ink, transfer to your hands while you're working. All right, I'm just going through the questions. Haven't done cross stitch in a long time, but I love it. I hear that from a lot of people, and it's definitely something we can do during this pandemic because it's very meditative, and some of these cross stitch designs, you can get a very, very simple one, or you can really go big with a large scale design. What I like about the countdown calendar is it looks very impressive. It looks like it takes forever, but there's not a lot of fill stitches with those numbers, so you can actually work through it rather quickly. And why not relax, have a cup of coffee, work on a little bit of cross stitch, then do a little bit of freestanding lace, and you'll be all ready for the holiday season. So I hope that you were inspired today by some of the things that I was talking about. Definitely take advantage of our great sale on the Solvy that is happening starting today. And again, also the Poly Deco and 60 weight poly light threads are also on sale. So you can just go to sulky.com, click on this image. It will take you to the page to grab up and stock up on all of your Solvy products. And again, keep in mind, if you are going to be working on a Christmas village or something of that scale with freestanding lace, you will want to grab a bolt of the Solvy. So you want to make sure that you have enough on hand. There is nothing worse than getting almost done and all you need are the roof pieces and you run out of stabilizer. So might as well grab up a bolt while it's on that special sale. So thank you everybody for joining me today. Someone just asked if I could go over that pin stitch again. Please go to our YouTube channel. You will find a entire playlist titled Intro to Cross Stitch, and you can see that pin stitch over and over again and really understand how she creates that stitch. So definitely use that as a resource. And again, thank you for commenting, liking, and sharing today's post. You could be the winner of our Silver Bells handwork mini palette of threads, which comes with that exclusive cross stitch countdown calendar pattern. So make sure you take advantage of our sales today. And again, thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.